thinking about it. Okay.
And we are live again.
We are back. The
We're
Busy
back.
Geeks podcast. If you caught us for a few seconds earlier, we had some sort of technical difficulty. We don't know if it was a StreamYard technicality or a Facebook technicality. All we know is that it was not a Sam and Jen technicality.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. I promise. I'm not technically gifted, but this I think I could handle. So anyway, we're back and we're talking about networking. We're talking about why we love to hate it, tips to make it easier, more effective, and the types of things and the types of people that make us hate it and how we can avoid them or avoid being them. So what is it why do we love to hate networking so much, Sam?
I think that networking puts us out of our comfort zone. I mean, it's a situation that we can't control. We don't want to be the one caught out with losing our train of thought, without not knowing what to say, without feeling like we've said something silly, feeling like we don't fit in. Like there's lots of things that we don't like about that. And then also, we don't like being put in situations where maybe other people make us feel uncomfortable. And I know that that's what we're going to touch on today as well. And also, before we were recording all on our own and no one else heard, but you mentioned about introverts not liking networking. And I think it would be great to say right from the get-go, I'm an extrovert, no problems at all, but I still don't like being at networking events. So it's not just an introverted thing. So introverts, don't use it as an excuse. Lots of us don't like it.
It's true. And I mentioned earlier that I spent years just avoiding networking, hating networking, dreading networking, having nervous sweats. I would go into networking events and I would just immediately feel as if there was a spotlight on my head pointing out all my awkwardness. I had a hard time, like, the people that, are in a circle, they're already talking and you're like, I want to join the circle and talk too. But I wasn't very smooth at doing that. I just felt like I was like hanging outside the circle, like awkwardly trying to act like I belonged, but I really didn't.
It happened. I was at an event just the other night and that happened. Everyone was all paired up and I was standing there all on my own thinking, if I slide into one of these conversations, is it going to be pushy? Maybe they're talking about something private and I shouldn't be there.
Or should I body check somebody or should I just slither in like a snake? Yeah. It's so bad.
It's a thing.
It is a thing. So after all those years of just hating and dreading networking, I have to say in the past year, I have done a 360 and I actually love networking now, but it's because I've been very intentional about it. And prior to that year, I got over my avoidance of networking by actually creating my own events, micro events, and now boutique conferences. And honestly, it's very hard to do those things, but it gave my shy, introverted self all the control I needed in order to be in a room with strangers, because I controlled every aspect of the event, from the venue to the time, the date. I knew who was coming because I created it, and they were coming because I created it. So that was my workaround. It was a very involved workaround to get around my shyness and my introversion, but it was effective. And now I don't dread it nearly as much. But it's because I'm very careful about the networking events and situations that I put myself in.
Look, I think that's absolutely genius that you created your own events. And I think it's such a big value bomb. We could almost end the show there, but we're not going to.
No way. We have so much more to say.
Absolutely.
I feel like this is my opportunity to get my revenge on all the people that made networking awful for me.
But in saying that, it is something that as business owners that we do have to do. I think that it's not something that we can just think, oh, we don't want to do it, we just won't do it, because it is such an important piece to our business, is being connected with other people, so people know what it is we do, finding joint venture partners, getting referrals. All these things happen from networking. And even though I just mentioned that there are sometimes I don't like networking, I also at other times love it. And I also have done some workarounds myself. And I think one of the biggest workarounds that I found for me was that attending events I think of as networking. And the reason I love networking at events rather than at, I'm going to put it in air quotes, networking events, is that people aren't walking in with the intention, I have to make sure that that person gets my business card and I want to make 5 sales today. At an event, it's like that is off the table. They're there for the information or the education, whatever they're at the event for. And I think that just puts people in a completely different frame of mind.
Oh, I completely agree. That's such a great tip, because you also have so much more to naturally discuss at an event, because
Mm-hmm.
you all have something in common that brought you together to be in this one location together. And you can also talk about the event itself. What sessions did you enjoy? And are you going to the thing tonight, the party tonight? I mean, there's so much to talk about, and people, I think, expect and want to meet people that have that same interest and share that commonality. So I think it feels much more natural to strike up a conversation.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I wanted to say, because I know that you're going to go into the different types of people that we meet at networking events, but
Yes.
I think that it's also wise to think about networking being in not just in person as well. I think about LinkedIn as networking. I think about connecting with other business owners on Facebook as networking. There's a lot of different ways, even jumping on Zoom calls with people is also networking. So I know that the principles that you're going to talk about, Jen, we can apply them to in-person events, but also to online places as well.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I had that in my notes as well, because honestly, we have so little time, particularly business owners. We just, a lot of us are business owners. We're wives, we're husbands, we're parents, we're caregivers of parents. We own pets. I mean, there's so many responsibilities and things that we're juggling that you know what? Sometimes you just don't have time to drive to a networking event and attend it and drive back. I mean, it's just not practical. So I love that we have the ability to have real connections with people online, and with tools such as Zoom, where you can actually meet face to face. The possibilities for growing your network have expanded so
Oh,
incredibly. It's very exciting.
so much. It is really exciting. And
Yeah,
and I love connecting with people from LinkedIn and jumping on a Zoom with all of my connections. It's another form of networking.
it is absolutely. It's absolutely a form of networking. Um, so if you are at a traditional networking event, I I have a tip. This is something that I do. That I started doing, and actually it works for me. I'm thinking it might work for somebody else. So, walking into a room full of strangers, it still makes me a little nauseous, right? So I'm like, where do I go? Who do I go to first? So now what do I do? What I do is I go straight to the bar or wherever they have drinks, not because I'm an alcoholic, but because it gives me something to do. And what I find is I always end up meeting somebody in line,
Mm-hmm.
waiting for a drink and striking up a conversation. And then once you get your drink, you just sort of migrate away from the bar, and your first connection is off to the races. I also feel very sophisticated with a glass of wine in my hand. And I don't know if that is reality. I don't know if I actually do look more sophisticated, but the fact is I feel more sophisticated. And that just gives me a little, an extra ounce of confidence that is always helpful in those situations.
I absolutely love that, and I do the same.
You
I
do?
also am not an alcoholic, but I love my wine. Um, But for me, it's because I would rather have something in my hand than
Yes.
fidget.
Yes.
You
I
know,
don't want to
you're
fidget.
holding it, so it's okay, and then you're not coming across as, a bit nervous or fidgety. So it's a
Yes.
great way to just take the spotlight off the fact that that I'm nervous, which is funny because probably 90% of the other people in the room are feeling the same way.
Yeah, but they hide it so well. And of course, they probably feel the same way about us. They probably are like, I had no idea you were, shaking inside and feeling nauseous. I couldn't tell. You hide it so well. But you're right. I
Absolutely.
mean, we all feel awkward unless we're what would you say, a sociopath or somebody that just doesn't have that self, or I don't know, that they don't care what other people think about them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but they're not normally at networking events anyway. They don't
No.
like to schmooze with other people.
Right, yeah. So so go to networking events. It's where sociopaths do not hang out.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Do you have any other tips, Sam? I know you do. I know you're a wealth of networking tips.
Absolutely. So everyone knows that they don't want to meet this person, yet people still show up as this person. The person that walks up to you and hands you their business card and starts talking to you about what they sell.
Yes.
Don't be that person.
Don't
Do not
be that person. I call that the business card pusher. The
Ah.
pusher, or just the pusher. And I agree with you so much. I think my rule is in terms of networking etiquette is I never give a business card unless somebody asks for it.
Ah, that's interesting.
They need to ask for it.
That's really interesting. I'd not thought about that before. My tip was going to be that if someone starts to talk to me about what it is that they do, I usually say, I'd love to have your card so we can talk about this later on. I never ever talk about what it is that someone does at a networking event. I like to keep it personal, learn about them, maybe a little bit about what it is they do, because I want to know whether there's an interest there, but I never want to hear anything further about the business. I'll take the card, let's connect on LinkedIn, or I'll email you after the event and let's jump on a call and discuss how we can create a win-win, discuss any possible win-win opportunities. I never do it at a networking event. It just sort
smart.
of cuts them off.
Yeah, that is really smart, Sam. I'm going to try that. I haven't actually tried that. Like, let's pick this up later. That's great. That is so cool. I mean, you should be writing this down out there. Just write these tips down. They're so good. Okay. So my next tip, if any of you were wondering why I have some birds on me, I have a bird in my hair and I have two birds on my shoulder. And that was a visual to demonstrate my second tip. I have a feeling my tips are not that great. My second tip is to wear a conversation starter. A conversation starter. It could be a parrot on your shoulder, real or fake, or it could just be an interesting piece of jewelry, some sort of accessory. I have this. I tuned into this because I started wearing this jacket that a friend of mine makes these jean jackets. And what she does is she takes these jean jackets and she sews fringe on the arms. And so when you put your arms up, it's this rainbow fringe. They're really cool. And I'd had it hanging in my closet for literally a year because I thought, it's a little flashy. I don't know. I love it, but I don't know if I feel a little weird wearing it out. But one day I was like, I am wearing it to this networking event. And it was first of all, it was so much fun to wear. And so many people came up to me asking me about the jacket. And that led to further conversation. So again, I didn't have to go up to as many people. People were coming up to me and that sparked a conversation. And I am still friends with some of those people today.
How awesome
Believe it or not.
How awesome is that? But I want to know, have you ever been to a networking event with birds on your shoulder?
No, I haven't yet. I
I
haven't
like that
yet.
you added yet.
I haven't yet, but I'm okay doing that. I'm not opposed to going to a networking event with birds on me.
I think that's fantastic and a great tip,
Thank you.
because the opposite side to that is for someone that is introverted or doesn't know how to start a conversation, what a fantastic way to say, I love those birds, or wow, look at those shoes, or oh, that jacket's gorgeous. Where did you get it? So it takes away the I guess the barrier to knowing what to say. It's just easy to go, wow, look at that.
Well, and the other, yes, all of that, Sam, all of that. And you want to be memorable. And it's
Hmm.
so easy not to be memorable, particularly if you're in a sea of people. I live in the Washington, D.C. area, and navy blue is an exciting color here. So anytime that somebody wears a bright color, even just a bright color, you will stand out in a DC networking event. So and if I think back to networking events that I've been at, the people that I tend to remember tend to have something striking about them, like
Mm.
they've worn something that stood out, or um, have had some sort of dynamic personality. They've done something to make themselves, stand out in the crowd. And me not having maybe the dynamic personality, I am okay wearing something a little weird.
Mm.
It
I
helps.
think that's great.
It
I think
helps.
it's great.
Yeah,
And I
thank you.
also think it's awesome that as an introvert, you're okay to do that.
Yeah, well, that's where the background in improv has helped, because I
Uh-huh.
make a fool of myself on stages all the time. So I'm used to being laughed at.
But not in that way. Not
I
in
don't know.
that way.
I don't. I'm not so certain. Don't be so sure. Don't
Uh,
be so
awesome.
sure.
So, my next tip is, and I did touch on it very, very quickly just before, is always follow up. And I like to follow up within 24 hours. Usually, LinkedIn is my preferred way to follow up, unless someone has specifically said. I would normally ask, how would you like me to connect? Some people are really into Facebook. So, but whatever way it is, I always follow up and say, hey, look, it was great to meet you and hear about blah blah blah. And again, that's how I normally get that next call booked, to be able to have a longer chat with that person. Or if I don't want to do that, at least I have followed up and said, it was great to meet you.
That is so strategic. I love it. And there are also ways to automate that too, in terms of um, having your new contacts into your email automations. So you have to be careful how you do that, because you still want it to be authentic. But if you're doing a lot of networking and you're just not able to keep up with all the follow-ups, that may be some help there. So yes, I love that tip. That is so great.
Can I ask you about that then? Automation, how do you automate a follow up if you've just met someone?
Yeah, so I learned about this recently from one of my clients who is an expert at automation. I'll give her a shout out because I've mentioned her before. Everything I know, apparently, I've learned from Mary Sue Dayhill
Ah,
of Work
Mary Sue
Smarter
again.
Digital. So she taught me this trick, and I think she may have something available on her website at worksmarterdigital.com. But essentially, she uses that app that I recommended last week called
Uh-huh.
Camcard, and she uploads her contacts there, or scans business cards and gets her contacts in her contact list somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it goes to like a Google Sheet or something, and then she
Mm-hmm.
zaps those emails into her active campaign automation, where there's an email like nurturing sequence for her contacts that she meets
Wow.
specifically at networking events
Wow. That
and
is so
speaking events.
cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's a little bit of magic, I think. A
That
little bit of
is a
magic.
little bit of magic. I think that if you're not going to that many events, it's always nice to do a personal follow up.
I think so.
But it's great to know that there's automation available. I had no idea that that was even a thing.
It's a thing. It's a total
Wow.
thing. All,
Wow.
all right. So this next tip, it's very basic, but I think just the term networking has now so much negative connotation to it that
Hmm.
in my brain, I have renamed it Relationshipping. It rolls off the tongue.
Relationshipping.
Relation shipping.
I
Please
love
do
it.
not say it 10 times fast. You won't be able to. Relation shipping. So essentially it's not about being that business card pusher. It's not about, selling your services and your business or your products like a speed dating event. It really is about forming new relationships. And those people may or may not be able to benefit your business in any way, but you may be able to help them. And that is a powerful thing, to be able to help people. And that tends to pay back in spades later on. So just think about forming new relationships. Be authentically curious, have real conversations that are worth continuing after the networking event, which Sam just said is a great networking tip, is to continue that conversation and follow up. But you really need a good starting conversation to begin with. So have some real conversations. Be a real person. Nothing wrong with that.
How about that? That's just like, be a real person.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Try. I mean,
Yeah. I think that you're right, that networking has got that connotation that's not evil, but it's got that thought of, I have to go there to get more business, to sell. And I think going in and thinking, what's your name? Where do you love to vacation? What pets do you have? Actually learning about the person rather than going in for that business transaction. And here's the goals in that. The people that feel valued, that you actually care about them, are the people that you're more likely to do business with anyway.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, love it. Relationshipping.
Relationshipping. I know
I
somebody's
was
probably going to suggest a much better, catchier word for it.
Well,
Go
it's
ahead.
funny because when you said relationshipping, I thought you were going to say you were going to, like drop ship it or, send it off somewhere. I was like, where's she going with this? Absolutely. And just like Brent Basham just said, it's not worrying about the outcome takes the pressure off.
Oh,
And
that's so
it just,
true. Yeah,
it's
great.
so true. Yes.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Take some of that pressure off. We all feel enough pressure. We feel pressure in
Absolutely.
every aspect of our lives. Like anytime we can take the pressure off, release that valve a little bit. That's a good tip. Thanks, Brent.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brent.
Oh.
So piggybacking off that, I think that I want people to think about coming into networking with the value that they can give, not what they can take. And
Yes.
that's for the event, for the relationships, for the people they meet, everything. It's always about adding value. How can I add value to you? How can I be of service to you? How can I do something to help you? And I think that that's the way that we should be thinking about going into all networking.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah. Be a giver, not a taker. It'll always work out best.
Absolutely.
Promise. Pinky promise.
Make love, not war.
Right. That's right.
Oh.
That's what we're about here. I have another tip. It's kind of unrelated to that, but if you're having a hard time at networking events, or maybe you're just so bad at networking that you are not getting any sort of relationship out of it, consider being a networking event sponsor or offer to volunteer. It's a way to have a deeper participation in the networking event, and it also showcases you and your business in a way that, again, doesn't involve you necessarily walking up to people, because typically a sponsor will be presented in some way, and that will inspire or instigate people being curious about you and your business. I highly recommend it, particularly if you are talking about traditional local networking events. They are hungry for sponsors, and sponsorships typically don't cost a lot. I just signed up to be a sponsor to a LinkedIn local networking event, and my sponsorship just cost me some food. I just have to feed feed some people. And it really didn't cost me an arm and a leg. And I'm going to be associated with that event leading up to it, during it, and maybe even after it, because the event organizer does a really good job of pre and post event marketing. So it was completely worth my small investment, and I really like the events they put on. So think about that and look for those opportunities to be involved in a different way.
That is
Mm.
absolutely brilliant. You are just full of gold today, Jen.
I love it
Um,
when you love something that I say. I mean, it just makes my
Oh, you
day.
always are full of gold. And I knew
it.
that you were going to be just delivering value bombs galore today. But what I love about that tip is that it positions you as the authority, which means that it breaks down that barrier of you having to go and speak to people, because other people will come and open up the conversation with you. So it takes that awkwardness out. And I think that, you know, it's the best way to get in front of everyone at that event, rather than only get around to half of the room and miss seeing people. That is genius.
Oh, well, thank you. I try. I try. I have notes. I have notes that I made for this episode. I'm
Love
actually
it,
looking
love
at
it.
them. I'm looking at my notes.
Very good, very good. So my next tip is actually about networking online rather than in
Mm.
person. And specifically, when I came up with this tip, I was thinking about LinkedIn, because this is where I see it happening most often. And that is that when you are on an online platform, be it LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever, think about whatever it is that you're doing. Would you do it in person? So if you wouldn't walk up to someone in a room and say, "Hi, Jennifer, my name's Sam. This is what I do. I'm a business coach. Would you like to spend $10,000 on my services?" If you
Oh,
wouldn't do that to someone in person, don't do it online.
that makes total sense when you say that. It
It
makes
does,
total sense.
because there's so many spammy people on LinkedIn that are ruining it for the rest of us that are trying to open up real conversations. I actually have a screenshot from someone's LinkedIn account that they sent me today.
Oh,
So
I
let me
can't
just
wait. I
open it
can't wait.
up.
I can't wait to see
Please.
it. I can't wait.
Oh my goodness. So let me just open it up.
I'm so glad
So,
one of us has visual material.
so this person says, this is the person that's reaching out to connect.
Okay.
I'll use your name. Hi, Jen. I saw we had connections in common, and I wanted to reach out and see if you're open to exploring ways we can help one in a way that they really are trying to get out there and get to know people. And this person sends back, oops, hang on 2 secs. Thanks, but I'm not after your services. That was it. Thanks, but I'm not after your services. No problems. Incidentally, that wasn't my purpose for connecting, and not entirely sure what was in my message even suggested that I was trying to sell you something. Either way, best of luck. And the response comes back, your message didn't say that. Your title on your profile did. I'm not actually interested in connecting to those who aren't potential clients. That is not a way to connect with
Wow.
people on LinkedIn. So please don't
Wow.
ruin it for the people like us that really do honestly want to reach out and connect with people and have conversations and get to know them, and how we could possibly work together, whether it's in a client situation, it could be a joint venture, it could be some sort of partnership, it could be referrals, it could be so many things, and it's not necessarily a client. So if you wouldn't stand in front of someone and say something that I think is extremely rude, don't do it online.
Oh my gosh. What a jerk. I'll say it, Sam, because I know you're too nice to say it. That was a jerk move. And you know
That
what?
was.
It's a small world, people. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very small world. I have an example of that. I don't know if I should do it now or when we talk about I had a list. I had a list. It was the 13 types of networkers that ruin it for everybody. But the list has grown. I think I'm now up to like 16, but there's probably like 13 strong ones. But these are the type of people that sort of make us all hate networking. And I think there's a little bit of this in all of us. I think these archetypes of networkers that I have identified, I think we all have a little bit of each one in us. And maybe some of those things come out sometimes, and we need to watch it. And if not, I think you all know these people. So I'm going to start naming. I'm going to start calling them out. So first one I'd like to call out is the over talker. And this is the person who dominates the conversation, doesn't let anybody get in a word in edgewise, has completely no self-awareness, does not care about a balanced conversation, just cares about saying what he or she has to say. Have you seen this person at networking events? I have.
Oh my goodness. And don't we all hate to be stuck in the corner, unable to get away from this person when we can see out the corner of our eye all these other people that we would like to connect with?
It's torture. It's just torture. It's torture. And they always have very loud voices. So you don't have a chance. You just don't have a chance to do it. It's just exhausting. It is just exhausting. So the overtalker, yes. These are the kinds of people that make us hate networking.
All right. Who's number 2 on your list?
The name dropper.
Oh,
this is
someone was talking about this the other day.
The name dropper is, this one drives me crazy because there's no good way. There's no good answer to the name dropper because it always goes something like, do you know so-and-so? And that so-and-so is somebody important. And if you do know so-and-so, then it's like, okay, I know so-and-so. Oh, great. If you don't know so-and-so, then it's like, oh, okay. Well, if you don't know that person, you must not be very important or you must not be very connected. I mean, and I don't know. If you know a name dropper, I mean, they don't stop with one name. It's name after name after name, and it's exhausting. I don't like it.
Nope. So who's 3rd on the list?
All right. We talked about the business card pusher, so we can skip that one. All right. The overseller, which is a relative, a not very distant relative of the business card pusher. The overseller will definitely give you a business card. Here's an overseller for you. I was at a networking event recently, and I was on my way out of the networking event. I was heading towards the elevator, and I got stopped by this woman who wanted to tell me all about her business. She was an accountant. And when I tell you she told me all about her business, she talked nonstop for, it must have been 3 or 4 minutes. Didn't ask me what kind of business I had, didn't ask me how established I was, but it was a networking event for business people. So I've had an accountant for years. She didn't even ask if I had an accountant, how long I've been in business. This might have told her something. She shoved her business card at me, and then she kept going and going and going. And it was ridiculous. And I was like, who does this? She didn't ask me anything about myself other than my name. And then she was off to the races. But you know what? She's not the first or last overseller I'm going to see at a networking event, but it's just not effective. It was a total turnoff.
And that's why I like to take my business conversations past the networking event, because here's the thing. If we went to the doctor or our GP or whatever we call him because we've got something wrong with us and we're sick, if we walked in the room and the first thing he did was hand us a prescription, we would be worried. We would know that was very wrong. We would think, why isn't he asking me what my symptoms are? Why isn't he asking me why I'm here? And it is the same in business. We shouldn't be prescribing our services to people when we don't even know if they're an actual fit. It's a terrible assumption to make.
How dare you? How dare you, overseller? How dare you? Calm down. It's a little desperate too. Okay.
Yeah.
Sam, I know you can relate to this one because every woman can. The hand crusher.
Yes. I like a nice, strong, firm handshake. I don't like feeling like I need to go straight to the emergency department.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say, there were times when I wondered if my little carpals were crushed beyond repair. I came out with a little lobster claw hand because I'd been crushed so many times. At some point, there was a business advice given that has never been forgotten. That is to have a firm handshake. Firm does not mean prove your brute strength to the person whose hand you are shaking.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I've seen women do it too. My hand has been crushed by a woman trying to prove something.
Oh, wow. Can I just say, though, I don't like it when someone shakes your hand and it feels like they're tickling you. It just feels creepy. It feels creepy.
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst. I should have just made this the bad handshaker. What about the person who doesn't take your whole hand, but they just take your fingertips?
That's what my nana does.
It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What is this? That I feel like is also very creepy. But yes, the tickle, I don't understand what that means. I don't understand how that came to be. What about the person who is like the anaconda? Like they wrap your hand in a way that includes your wrist.
I've never had that. We don't have those people in Australia.
Like, I don't know if you could. It's like this. It's like,
wow, like a full hand lock.
Yeah, it's like,
how bizarre.
Yeah, I don't like that. Okay, I don't mind this, and I don't know why, because I feel like I should hate it. The person who shakes, okay, how do I do this? They shake your hand, but they also touch your arm.
I've never had that either. I clearly don't go to enough networking events. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, the sweaty handshake, nobody likes it, but I don't hold it against anybody.
Well, I certainly don't, because if I'm nervous, my hands sweat. So I wouldn't hold that against anyone.
I mean, I sweat a lot. I don't know if it's a glandular problem that's been undiagnosed or what, but I'm just a natural sweater. I don't think I have sweaty palms, but if I do, yeah, like you said, it's not something that you can necessarily help. So I'm very forgiving when it comes to the sweaty handshake. But yeah, the fingers, the tickle, the anaconda. I don't like any of those.
Who knew there was so much to do with handshakes?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah. If anybody out there has a handshake they want to talk about, definitely throw it in the chat there. I'm curious.
All right. Who else have we got there?
This is so long. I don't think we're going to be able to get to everyone. Okay. The scanner. The scanner is somebody who is looking, you're talking to them, but the whole time they're looking over your shoulder, scanning the room, and then they find something that's somebody that they'd rather talk to, and they abandon you mid-conversation. I'm not saying this has happened to me, but it's definitely happened to me. More than once.
Do you know what, though? I have to put up my hand and say, when I'm stuck in the corner with the person that's dominating the conversation, I turn into that person, and I feel really bad for doing it, but I am not really good at sort of stopping the conversation. So instead, I'm a bit of a jerk and I do that scan and just like bust out of there. So I also am that person.
Okay, I'll give you a pass in that situation because it is. I understand that situation. We've all been in that situation. Okay, so you can scan if you're in a very uncomfortable situation. I'll give you that. Okay, how about the I'm not contagious person?
Who is that person? I need more information. I'm confused.
They're kind of like me. Like I'm getting over a cold. But so I go to the networking event, with all these people in a hot room with no windows, and I'm coughing and I'm still sniffly and I'm still shaking people's hands, but I'm comforting them by saying that I'm not contagious. When yes, you are contagious. That's gross. And nobody wants you out in public when you're still sick.
No, if you're sick, stay home, please.
Stay home. I'm not contagious person, because yes, you are contagious and gross. Yeah.
I love how you get a bee in your bonnet so easily.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, maybe we should pick the one that.
Okay,
the last one.
Yeah. Okay. This might be my number one. It's the big, clever, quirky questioner. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Tell us more.
Okay,
no.
It's the person that just, has been told that how to start a conversation is you ask a clever question, something unusual, like, how are you going to change the world? Or what do you want people to say about you when you leave the room? Or if you had 24 hours to live, how would you spend it? Slow down, stranger. I don't want to answer your big, deep questions. I'm here just to get a glass of wine and have some conversation, lighthearted conversation.
You know what's so funny is I thought it was only me that didn't like that. So I've never ever talked about it. It's okay to do that when you're at dinner with friends that you've known for a long time, because that is fun. But I remember someone asking me one of those big, deep questions the first time I met him, and I felt so awkward. I was like, I don't actually want to answer that.
I'm like a deer in the headlights.
I didn't know. I thought it was only me.
No, and I never have a good answer because I'm really bad at thinking on my feet sometimes, and I'm never expecting it. Although I've been in these situations before, you think I'd have an answer ready just in case, but I never do. And instead, I just end up feeling so annoyed and irritated. So
I like it.
I will type up all of these. There's more because you know how I am. I got on a roll. I'm going to make a list of these networkers, the types of networkers that make us all hate networking. I'm going to make sure it's in our show notes so you guys can read and relate and add to the list. We'll keep a running list of these bad networkers. We need to be vigilant and make sure to keep them in check so that they don't ruin networking events for the rest of us.
But I also think that the way that we can use these is to be very self-aware that we don't want to be those people too. So for me, it's not about pointing the finger and saying all of those people are, just grinding our gears, but it's also like, I don't want to be that person. We're all human. I've done some weird and wonderful things at all sorts of different events. I am the person that says the things that I cringe at. Like I'll say something and walk away just going, oh my God, Sam, I can't believe you said that.
We've all been there. And Brent reminds us to be forgiving. We are all very flawed. I'm a very forgiving person, Brent. Don't worry. In fact, that person that has trapped Sam in the corner that she needs to get away from, I'm the person trapping her there because I'm really bad at working the room. And if I find a friendly person, I tend to glom onto them for way too long. Like they're all of a sudden, like they're my family. They're my best friend. They become my life
security blanket. Absolutely.
So, absolutely. So I'm the person that you'll want to get away from. Yeah,
absolutely. We all do it. So thank you for sharing that with us so that we can become self-aware. But Jen, you found an article I can't even remember what it's called.
What did I find?
The bracelet. What's the bracelet?
Oh, the bracelet. Okay. So last week we had this like coolish or foolish segment, and that was about the Samsung flip phone. So I wanted to keep it going. I thought, it'd be really cool if we had kind of a small tech segment. So I found this. Oh my gosh, let me see if I can find it. This bracelet. And it is called the Bracelet of Silence, right? Did I get that right? Am I remembering it right?
Yes. Now you've said it. That's exactly what it is. And I saw it and I'm like, the Bracelet of Silence? I'm a little bit scared what this is going to be.
Yeah.
So when it's coolish or foolish, I was like, oh.
I think it might be coolish. It's not for sale yet. So it's this invention by this guy. I'm sorry, I closed my article, so now I'm like trying to remember it. But essentially, it jams up signals to Alexa so that Alexa can't eavesdrop on your conversation. So this is a tech move for privacy. Mr. Zhao is his name.
I love the way he came up with it because he wanted an Alexa to put his music on in the office, and his wife said no, obviously, because it hears everything you say. He misunderstood her saying no as yes and bought the Alexa, and she said, turn that thing off, it's listening. So what he turned it off, he created this bracelet that jammed it up when they were talking so that it couldn't eavesdrop on their conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool idea. I was looking at he's got the code or whatever in GitHub. So you could look at that if you're a technical person and want more of the technical details on this thing. But this is an article. I put the link in the chat and I'll include it in the show notes. It was in the New York Times. And I thought the whole story behind it was really fascinating and also opened up that conversation about privacy and how we are being listened to and what that means for us and how that information could potentially how that information is being used now and how that
absolutely.
information could potentially be used. He was talking that there should be an etiquette that if you have Alexa devices in your home, that you need to make your guests aware of it.
Absolutely. Imagine if there was Alexas in people's offices, like, or, you know, places of business. It just opens up a whole, so many privacy concerns. But I'm interested to know, Jen, do you think it's coolish or foolish?
You know what? I'm going to go coolish. I also like the look of it, even though it's rather large. It's very steampunk looking. And I think if they came out with some colors and if they could maybe shrink down the size a little bit, I don't know. What is it like? It's, oh gosh, you've got to see the picture. It's almost like wearing a small tire around the wrist. Yeah, it's definitely a one size fits all. But if you're a small person, I have a feeling it will just slide right off of your arm. But it is very, it's got a little bit of a cool factor to it. So I'm going coolish.
Awesome. I've got a foot on either side of the fence. From the tech perspective, it is the coolest thing ever because I don't like the fact that we're all plugged into the system. I think that it needs a little bit of work on the fashion side. I was like, that thing almost reminds me, you know, like in the 80s, we had those, you know, leather bands with the studs on them. It reminds me of something like that. And I was just
very
like,
Clockwork Orange.
That's exactly what it is.
Very Clockwork Orange, which is fitting, I think. So check it out.
And being a small person, it probably would sit around my neck a little bit easier than around my wrist. So I didn't like it from the fashion sense. But
I'm curious how heavy it is. It looks like it could also maybe be a weight for you to work out with. I don't know.
But I love the idea.
I love the idea. Fantastic. And you know what? I think this is for those entrepreneurial and angel investor types out there. I think there's a lot of potential money that is going to be going into developing devices like this that will protect our privacy on a day-to-day basis. In the article, it goes in to mention some other things that have been invented to block, like one was these glasses that block the infrared signals from cameras. So if you're on a public camera, it just blurs out your face and there's a picture to show it. So I think this is something that as a society, we're getting increasingly sensitive about. And I can see a lot of business opportunities erupting in this space. So keep an eye on privacy tech. I think it's going to be something that we are going to be seeing a lot more of. That's my prediction.
Yep. And I'm with you on that one.
Thanks, Sam. I love it when we agree.
It happens sometimes.
Every once in a while.
Absolutely. What's grinding your gears this week, Jen?
Oh, gosh. I feel like this whole episode is about grinding my gears. Okay, well, I picked something that was relevant to our topic, and it is bad business cards grind my gears. What's a bad business card, you ask?
Hey, Jen, what's a bad business card?
Okay, a bad business card to me is so many things. Small text on business cards drives me crazy. As a person who is over 40, did you know that at 40 your eyesight just gets worse? There's no stopping it. Your eyesight just goes downhill. It's just a sign of aging. That's what my optometrist told me as I was wiping my tears. So, you have to be cognizant of accessibility factors and actually any aspect of your business. But since we're talking about networking, let's talk about accessibility on business cards. Make sure people can read your phone number. I have actually been given business cards that even with my glasses on, I cannot decipher what is on them. It's
Wow.
too small, too light. I can't read it. I get mad. It reminds me of my aging eyes. I cry and I throw the business card away. I am also not a fan of business cards that are weird shapes that don't fit into pockets, like in your wallet or in your cell phone case. And I'm just stuck trying to stuff this weird business card somewhere. That annoys me to no end. I don't like glossy business cards because I can't write on them if I want to make a note. Okay, that makes me mad. And I also just don't like uber fancy business cards, which like the Moo cards, I used to be a big fan of. I'm like, oh, these are so nice. But now they just get on my nerves.
Really?
They irritate me. There's something about it because I'm like, it's a business card. It's not something that's meant to be framed. I mean, it's not something that's like, it's just, they typically get like the information gets inputted and then it gets put into a landfill. Why does it have to be so thick? Why does it have to be so expensive? Why does it have to be so expensive that you don't even want to give it to me because it costs $1 and you want to make sure you're giving it to somebody that's actually going to do business with you? I don't know. The statement that it's making is too much for me. Just give me a regular old cheap business card on recycled paper, non-glossy, with a 12 or point or above font, and I'm happy. Is it too much to ask, Sam? Is it too much?
Well, what I was just about to say is let's do a bit of a shout out for anyone that could possibly run into Jen in the DC area at a networking event. Please have specific Jen business cards so that she stays happy.
I mean, I'm just going to start throwing, like if you give me a business card that's an odd shape, I'm just going to throw it back at you.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to get really bratty.
I think I'm going to be the person that you would be annoyed at. I don't even have business cards.
Oh, what do you do? Do you do the scan thing? Do you have a scan?
So I will say to someone, I haven't got any business cards on me. Would you like to connect on social media or do you have a card that I can take?
Oh, I'm speechless.
I know. I was just about to say, I don't think I've ever seen you that quiet.
I don't know what to do with this information.
So that might have to make it to another episode, but I don't have business cards.
Okay, we're going to have a whole episode on how to survive without a business card.
It actually bothers everyone else way more than me.
Oh, but I wish we had more time because I feel like this could be a whole discussion. Because I think there is an anti-business card movement.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, everyone's on social media, so why do I need to buy these bits of cardboard that I'm going to put into landfill? Because no one keeps them.
Okay, Brent loves you. Brent just loves you. Sam's approach is likely way more effective since it puts the power of connection in her hands.
100%, Brent. That's exactly right.
Hey, Brent. That's fine, Brent. That's fine. That's fine, Brent.
Thanks, Brent. I'll send my check in the mail.
Brent, who loves Sam's approach of no business cards. Okay, fine. What's grinding your gears, Sam?
Well, I don't have a grinding my gears. I didn't do it again.
No, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable.
No. Oh my goodness. What's grinding my gears? What's grinding my gears is probably that I didn't do my homework and didn't do grinding my gears. But I do have one cool thing. So I'm going to segue just beautifully into one cool thing.
Please do. I almost forgot about one cool thing.
Oh, this is my favorite bit. We can tell how different we are, right? We're like Laurel and Hardy we are.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the one cool thing.
It's an app that I have on my iPad, and I've actually used this app for years. So it's not new, but I wanted to share it first for people like me who love creating visual things. So I use this app and it's called Paper by WeTransfer. It's a drawing program, and the reason I love it so much is for two reasons. One, I can use Reflector app And if I'm doing a group coaching call, I can draw out, a funnel or whatever it is that I'm doing on a group coaching call, because there's a lot of people that need the visuals to learn. I'm one of them. I can't just learn just by listening. And the other way I do it is I use it so much for outsourcing. So I had a group coaching call with my clients this morning, and they asked if I could create a couple of templates. So all I did was quickly drew it up on my iPad, took a screenshot, and sent it straight off to my design team. And it's out of my head, and it's done, and it's dealt with. So I absolutely love paper. Nothing fancy, but it's just such a time saver.
Everything you just said blew my mind.
Really?
Yeah, I hope you put the link in the notes so
we will absolutely put a link in the notes. And here's the little tip. So you can get a free version of it. I think it's something like $7.99, like nothing. So I love doing Venn diagrams. When you have the paid version of the app, there's a little icon at the bottom that you click, so that when you draw a circle, it automatically perfectly goes into a circle.
Oh, stop it.
I know. How exciting is that? How exciting is that?
It's so exciting.
Yes.
So exciting.
So we'll pop that in the show notes. But what's your one cool thing, Jen?
All right. Well, do you like books, Sam? Do you like to read?
Oh, my goodness. I love reading. I'm a book nerd.
I am also a book nerd. I'm a business geek, but a book nerd. Who wants to date me? I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm married. Off the market. Well, I'm sorry. I'm late, and I'm on cold medicine. It's my only excuse. I discovered this Amazon competitor called bookshop.org. And they are taking on Amazon by supporting indie bookstores.
Ooh.
So if you go to their site, they have this model. You can purchase books. It's from what I can tell, it's real books, not ebooks. I don't know if that's going to change or not, but you and they have all sorts of curated lists, and you can search. When you purchase a book through bookshop.org, they have a model where 10% goes to the author, 10% goes into a pool that gets split among the indie bookstores that are signed up with bookshop.org, and 10% goes to whoever shared that link or published the link to bookshop.org. So they go into great detail. They're still in beta, and as of right now, so they're brand new. They've raised $6,470.63 for local bookstores, and they keep that tally on the site for you. So they're very transparent about how it works, how you can be an affiliate, both as an individual and a bookstore. They talk about why they're doing it, and the CEO, the guy who started this, he is very familiar and well known in the indie book space. He created LitHub, which is a well-known blog, literary blog. Electric Literature is his. He's done a bunch of stuff in this space. He's very accomplished, and he did this for all the right reasons. I'm really excited. I love local bookstores. I want them to stick around. I think they're just a cornerstone of any community. So I really want him to succeed. So I'm going to, share this link in the show notes. And I hope for all you book lovers out there, you'll consider purchasing your books through bookshop.org.
So it sounds like it's just, at the moment, it's just a US site.
I think so. Yes, that's what it looks like. But I can see this going global. I don't see
I was
why.
just about to say, I hope that goes global, because us Aussies love books too.
Yeah, I don't see why not. And I read an article on LitHub recently as I was researching this company or this business. And they said that in 2019, more people went to libraries more often than they went to the movies. All is not lost.
That
We're
is
still reading books, people.
Fantastic.
Isn't that great?
Fantastic. Awesome. It's been great hanging out with you here today, Jen. Just the
Yeah,
girl.
it's been great.
I
We
did
missed
miss
Joe.
Joe.
We missed
Definitely
Joe.
miss Joe.
He will be
but it
back
was
next week.
yes, lots of love to Joe and lots of loves to Joe's family.
Yes.
But thank you everyone for tuning into today's show. Head over to the Business Geeks podcast Facebook page if you haven't been there, and we will have a discussion thread right below this video. So if you've got any questions or any takeaways, definitely leave them down there. Like Mary Sue's just figured out that you have a bird on your shoulder, Jen. So Mary Sue, you have to go back and find out why Jen has birds on her shoulder
There
today.
is a reason, and a little bird told me we are going to be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. live. We also record this as a recorded audio podcast. Please tune in, tell your friends, share the show. It really does help us. We're just getting started, and we really want this to be something for you, and we want it to be successful. So thanks for tuning in and making us happy to be doing this, because of your questions and comments were so much fun.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone.
All
Ciao,
right.
ciao.
Ciao.